Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Farron. It's great to be back with you Monday. It is Monday, July 27th, and we've been on a little bit of a break, so I'm happy to be back with you tonight, sharing some great information about how to protect your kids from bullies. Before we dig into that, a little bit about me. By day, I am a middle school principal virtually. I've been in education for 30 years. I have two grown daughters of my own, and I am also the author of Raising the Well-Adjusted Child, a Parent's Manual. And I have talked to lots of parent groups, and I do this show every week on Mondays, and we talk about different topics in parenting. So you can check out the QR code at the top of the page if you want to grab your copy of Raising the Well-Adjusted Child, a Parent's Manual. It is on Amazon, so you can check that out as well. While we're talking about ways to support parents, I've also got a way that I can come out and talk to your parent groups about the book. And so we can do that. So you can reach out to me, and I would be more than happy to do a book study or talk to parents about the different topics that are in the book. So please reach out to me for that. All right. I'd like to welcome Jackie. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time today. Pop it in here. So let's get started with our amazing guest today. We have CJ Scarlett is who's going to join us today. CJ is often known now as the badass grandma, and she has quite a long list of accolades that go along with her being the CEO and the founder of Badass Grandma Ventures, which she does now. She's the CEO of a couple other companies, and has really done a lot of work in victim issues and protecting children. So welcome, CJ. Thank you for joining us. Give everybody a little bit of introduction about you.
Sure. Dr. Tanya, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad to be here. I have been a child advocate for 36 years. I myself am a survivor of child sexual abuse and a narrow escape from a sex trafficking ring as a teenager. And when I finally claimed my power in 1990, I began advocating for other kids because I didn't want anyone to have to go through what I went through. So I was the executive director of a child advocacy center for several years. I was a director of victims issues for the North Carolina Attorney General's office for several years. And all while earning a master's degree in human violence, because I wanted to understand how people could do the terrible things they do to other people. And I learned a lot in the process, I'll tell you. But by 1998, I grew tired of dealing with crime after it happened, with working with children who were already traumatized. And I wanted to do something to keep from happening at all. So I became an entrepreneur in 1999. And I've been doing that ever since. I've written 3 books for parents about how to empower their kids to protect and defend themselves from bullies and predators. I created an online course based on those 3 books. And now I'm really excited to talk about the Heroic Kids safety game that we're working on for kids 5 to 18. I'll talk more about that later at the end.
Awesome. Absolutely. We are glad to have you with us. And thank you, Leslie Flowers, for joining
Hi,
today. Leslie
Leslie.
connected us. She connected us. It was so sweet of her. She's like, you've got to meet CJ, Tanya. And I think I was busy, and she kept saying, have you met her yet? Have you met her yet? I'm like, we're working on it. I think you and I had some coordinating schedules we were trying to match up. So
Best introduction ever made.
best introduction. It was awesome. And Jean Ann, thank you for joining us. She does bring practical wisdom to the
Thank
discussion.
you.
So thank you so much. So let's get into some of these questions. We have about 30 minutes, and you chose a little bit about this. You talked a little bit about this in your introduction, but why do you choose to speak out against bullying?
I speak out against all forms of violence and exploitation towards children. I think it's important to talk about bullying, especially this time of year when children are going back to school. I myself was not badly bullied as a child or a teenager, but I know some statistics that I think are important for your listeners, your viewers to hear.
Yeah.
About 60% of students rate bullying as a major source of pain in their lives.
Mhm.
And most 5th through 12, excuse me, 5, we get this right, 5th through 12 graders are more concerned about emotional maltreatment and social cruelty by their peers than even academic performance. This really impacts their ability to be present and engaged at school. And it's really interesting because when I was writing my second book, I think I was looking at bullying statistics in North Carolina, where I reside, and it said that there were zero bullying incidents in like 2013. I thought, oh my God, that is such BS. There's no way they had no bullying incidents. But what I learned is that schools didn't like to report that they had bullying incidents, so because they had a zero tolerance policy, they could quote the zero tolerance policy backward or forward, but they didn't want to show that it wasn't working. And when in fact the zero tolerance policies often can have some adverse effects because it punishes both sides of the equation. My son was 13 when he was walking along he was about 13 when he was walking along between classrooms, and another kid came up behind him and shoved him into the pavement and put his tooth through his cheek. Mm-hmm. And both boys were expelled. Not expelled. They were suspended, out of school suspension for 2 weeks. And I went into that school and I said, no way, my son is a victim of a crime. Mm-hmm. There is no way you're going to hold him as accountable as you held that kid. And they finally decided the other boy would get 2 weeks out of school suspension. My son got 3 days of in-school suspension, which still was grossly unfair. Knowing what I know now, I probably would have pressed charges.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And so there is a lot to learn about bullying. And really, I would agree, kids really do have greater fears of that than probably their performance in school. I believe that completely. I really do believe that. And so Leslie, I've got Leslie. And so, how would you define, how do you define bullying? If you're a parent or you're a student, how do you define that?
That's interesting. I'm going to get to the exact definition in a second, but I think it's really important to teach children the difference between bullying versus meanness or rudeness or thoughtlessness. Because sometimes people say, so-and-so bullied me at school. Well, another child may have made an unkind comment that doesn't rise to the level of bullying. And I think it's important we teach our kids the difference between those things.
Yes.
So bullying actually is most simply defined as aggressive behavior that can be verbal or nonverbal, physical or relational. And there are 3 basic types of bullying. There are several types of bullies. Like 7 or 8 types of bullies, but there's 3 basic types of bullying. You have direct or physical bullying, which can involve threats or actual acts of harm toward another child. Bullies can be so terrifying that even just raising their fist toward another child can be just as traumatic as being hit. Mm-hmm. It strikes fear to that child's heart and terrorizes them. Relational bullying is designed to isolate and exclude its victims. This is like mean girl syndrome. I mean, boys can engage in it too, but this is girls' favorite type of bullying. Mm-hmm. They like to be, they want to be considered popular and cool, and they will often, to maintain their position of popularity and fear that they will themselves maybe perhaps be bullied, they pick on a particular child or group of children. This mostly happens in middle school and high school, of course. And they will isolate them socially. They'll say cruel things to them. They won't invite them to parties. They won't let them be part of the group. They mock them at lunch. They get the other kids to mock them as well. And that's what really hurts, is that it's not just a one bully thing. It becomes a group, a clique. And with the bully and their toadies. Mm-hmm. Toadies are the people who are agree with the bully, go along with whatever they're doing, even though they may not like what's happening. They do it because they fear that if they defend the child who's being bullied, they'll become the next target. That's really unfortunate. And then there is cyberbullying. And cyberbullying is harassment and threats that occur online through email, chats, gaming systems, Instagram, social media, things like that. And that has become, oh my gosh, it has become so bad, so prevalent that kids are literally killing themselves over the harassment. It is tragic. And what's so insidious about cyberbullying is that normal kids who would never say boo to a goose in person, with the idea of having anonymity and being part of the group think process, will say and do things they would never say to another kid in person. Adults do this too. It's really quite awful. So kids are twice as likely to kids who are cyberbullied are twice as likely to attempt suicide than their non-bullied peers. And this one really gets me. Just 7% of US parents say they're worried about their kid being cyberbullied, while 33% of kids say they have been cyberbullied. So there's a real disconnect there.
And I believe that percentage is greater than probably
Oh my
when you
gosh.
looked it up, because
Yes.
I would say that there are, I mean, I have been on my TikTok channel. I have been
Wow.
had that happen to me as an adult.
Mhm.
Now, as an adult, I can brush that off a little bit better. I've got, my own skills, or I know how to block people.
Mhm.
It doesn't hurt my feelings. But for children, that is very, very hard to do. And so I want to take, before we go on, and take a few minutes and kind of acknowledge, Nick had said, thanks for talking about this. Her son was also bullied.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I am sorry to hear that too. And I don't know who Trevor Martin is, so we'll have to look into that. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing that as well. Yes, and we're all sad to hear about that, Nick.
Mhm.
And hello, Christy Williams. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your day to be with us. When 9/11 happened, he'd come off the bus crying because the kids called him a terrorist.
Oh my gosh. Kids can be the cruelest of all. They can be really, really terrible to each other. It's like a switch flips when they get into middle school, and all of a sudden the cliques are formed, and the popular kids know who they are, and everybody else knows who the popular kids are, and they know who's in and who's out. And it's a constant battle for validation and acknowledgement, and what they get in return for that desire to have that validation and acknowledgement that they exist. They often become the targets of bullies,
Correct.
either online or in person.
It is true. Christy, I'm sorry to hear that you were bullied as well until you had to
Oh
quit
my
school.
gosh.
And
Yeah.
children do have to move schools sometimes. I mean, sometimes as a parent,
Mhm.
and I have talked to parents about that. If they feel like, especially if it's in the neighborhood or something like that, they need to remove their child to protect their
Title
child.
IX is supposed to help protect children from these kinds of things, to help them move to a new school if they have to, or change lockers, or do whatever they've got to do. But the school has to take it seriously. And that leads me to a quick story about a mother who approached me with a story about her 16-year-old daughter who was being so severely cyberbullied that she stopped going to school. Her boyfriend was posting nudes of her online that they had had in the relationship,
Hmm.
and he was calling her a slut, and he got everybody in the school, just about, she said it didn't feel like she had a friend in the whole school, or just piling on, telling her to kill herself.
Ah,
It's just so awful. And the school would do nothing about it. They kept brushing the mother off. And so we made an appointment. She made an appointment with the principal, the guidance counselor, and the one of the teachers. And I went with her, and everything changed. Not
good.
because me specifically, but because there was a witness in the room
Hmm.
who also was obviously there to advocate for the mother and the girl.
Sure.
They sang a totally different tune just because there was another person present. And we
Amazing.
got some resolution. She ended up changing schools.
Well, and then I think sometimes people don't take it as seriously as it is, because we have to define that too. Like,
Mhm.
what does that look like, right? What does it look like to be bullied? There's all sorts of different types of behaviors that can happen in
Mhm.
person in schools, the assault that your son, was a part of,
Mhm.
there's different levels of different things and processes that you go through, but
It is
always be
really complex.
heard. So important. I want to recognize, I'm so sorry, Jackie, that you broke your
Oh
arm due to
my
bullying in
gosh.
first grade. Oh,
Wow.
oh my gosh. I'm so sorry to hear that,
Oh, I
because
am
it's
sorry too.
very
There
tragic.
are so many stories out there that are just infuriating and tragic at the same times. They are what they learn. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Bullying
Mom
can be
mentality.
tragic to kids and
Yeah.
youth. Yep. Hmm.
Oh, that mom mentality, I tell you what, and it just eggs on the bully. It makes him feel more powerful and more likely to
Hmm.
create greater harm to the child, whether it's verbal or nonverbal or physical.
Christy, thank you for being so
Oh,
transparent,
wow.
and I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad
Yes.
you're here. Always. We are always glad you're here. So keep that in mind forever and ever.
There was this wonderful ad campaign where a bunch of celebrities would do these little, 30-second things where it's like, it gets better. It gets better. I think it was done mainly for LGBTQ children, but it's true for all children. It does get better eventually, but sometimes children are suffer. That's kind of what enables it to continue. As adults think, well, kids will be kids. This is
Hmm.
a rite of passage. But if we as adults had to go to work every single day or 5 days a week, the night before, knowing that we were going to be terrorized by our boss, that it would make us sick to our stomach, and over time it kept happening. And if our coworkers joined in because they didn't want to be the subject of his cruelty, um, if we encountered that every single school day, every single 5 days a week work day, we might become depressed. We might become anxious. We might become suicidal. But we
100%.
have choices. We can call HR and report it. We can quit and find a new job. I mean,
Mhm.
there are choices adults have that children do not. And
I
when
love
adults
that.
brush it off
You-
as
You're
kids will be
so
kids,
right.
yeah.
And I want to provide this QR code that's above. And I don't know, I'm probably mirrored, so wherever I'm pointing, the new QR code that's up there, click that. This is the clues that your child is being bullied. And so if you're wondering, you're watching this and you're wondering, is my child being bullied? Click that QR code. It goes to a Google document to where you'll be able to, maybe make that decision and determination of whether or not your child is being bullied. I'll drop some of these links on LinkedIn, into the chat, and on Facebook into the discussion so that you guys can have access to them also. But let's kind of get back into our discussion here. Let's talk about something a little bit more, dig into this. So we have the QR code up there. So how can parents and children determine when their child's being bullied? What are some of the signs and symptoms that parents can see?
Children whose behavior changes over time or overnight. A normally happy, joyful child will become withdrawn and not want to talk anymore. They come home with unexplained tears in their clothing or missing items, books, phones, whatever. Um, they don't want to look forward. They don't look forward to the next school day. They may get a lot of stomach aches and headaches because they dread the idea of going back to school, as anybody would.
Hmm.
I would love to hear from some of your guests what some of the symptoms were that they had that they wish someone had noticed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think
So
that'd
those
be
of
very
you in the
illuminating.
audience, any of the symptoms that you had, and I know being a principal of a school when I was an elementary principal, I mostly saw that with a lot of kids was, the stomach aches and stuff that they really
Mhm,
can physically make themselves sick. Stomach aches physically for
mhm.
real sore throats, headaches for real. The stress and the tension. Think about it. If you had a horrible boss, like CJ had said before, and you went to work every day, then how can you survive that? But we do have choices as adults. And I love this, Christy. Thank you. As a kid, you feel like it's never
Oh,
going to end.
and it should never be that way. I'm
Freaked
so
out. You
sorry that
don't have a
happened to all of
solution.
you. Yeah, you don't have the tools. You don't have the information. You may not have a supportive family. They may say, well, you just got to hit him back, or you got to do, just suck it up or ignore it or whatever, and it'll go away. And that's not helpful to a child who's being bullied.
Hmm. It's not helpful at all.
Mhm.
No, not at all. Thank you. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my gosh. Oh my goodness. In Winston-Salem.
Mhm.
Wow.
So check out that QR code up there, and you can, learn a little bit more about that if your child is being bullied. Um, and then, what are some things that the parent can do to support that student from being bullied?
Talk to them often about what bullying is, again, what it is and what it is not, and ask them if they've ever witnessed anybody being bullied or if they themselves have been being bullied. I'm sure there are listeners out there, viewers out there who just shared part of their stories that wish they had been asked by their parent, that
Hmm.
didn't want to tell, didn't want to make a big deal, were afraid their parent was going to shame them somehow, and wish that they could have had a supportive parent or ally or a friend or something that would ask them if they were being bullied so they could let it out. Because carrying that kind of shame and secrets, I mean, that's almost as painful as it lasts longer than the bullying lasts. And those
Yeah,
are the types of things that really can
right,
silence children and into their adulthood.
right. And so I just changed up to the QR code up here. What to do if your child is being bullied.
Mhm.
Sorry, hold on a minute. I think I opened the wrong one on my page. Is being bullied. She gives some physical symptoms such as digestive issues, fear of using the bathroom at school, where bullies can torment them. They don't want to go
Yes.
into the bathroom alone. because they sneak in. And you know the hardest part? I've been a school principal for a long time. The bullies don't do it when it's right out in the open always. It's usually behind the teacher's back. The teacher turns their back to go out and grab something in the hallway. The teacher turns their back and they go to the whiteboard to write. It is never right there in that moment in front of everybody else. So make sure if you're seeing they don't want to go those places, you know. So this is a great list of things, some emotional symptoms, isolating themselves, anxiety, nervousness, acting out of character. There's some, oh my gosh, this is really great information. So click that QR code for it. So you can get these great resources. And those of you that are educators and you're watching this is a great resource for you as well.
Feel free to use any resource that I've shared.
CJ loves to get her information out to help families. And so, you know, this is great for your back to school nights, things like that, that you can talk to your kids about, your parents about, so that they are available to help support the kids. And then, you know, sorry, it's hard to maneuver all of it at the same time. Let's talk about the cyberbullying for a little bit, because we do have another handout for you on this was the cyberbully one. Sorry, I thought I had but the cyberbully one is listed up there now, the QR code for that, if they are cyberbullied. So as a parent, what advice do you give parents of children who are victims of cyberbullying?
Teach their children that when they are being cyberbullied to close the computer, close their phone, do whatever, come to the parent immediately for help. Don't destroy the evidence. Let the parent take screenshots of all of this, because they're going to need that information to talk to authorities, whether it's law enforcement authorities or the school or the websites where this is occurring. I mean, they have to by law protect children, you know, do things to protect kids. So I would say the number one thing is to teach your child not to delete these things.
Yes, it's very true. And, you know, not to delete those things and to see them. And I have a personal story. One of my children had a friend on Snapchat, and the friend acted as if they were the mother, and they said that the friend had completed suicide. And my daughter panicked and screamed and cried and said, "Oh my gosh, this mother just messaged me on my friend's account telling me this." And I said, "Wait a minute. This is not the mother. A mother would not reach out through social media." And so we stopped, we called the school, you know, and I called the school, and the school counselor said, "That's interesting. A school hadn't even started that day yet. That student is sitting right outside my window."
Really?
So
right.
The student had impersonated herself. Now, to me, that's a form of cyberbullying, because I've now taken this person down a rabbit hole, emotional trauma, you know. And so really, as a parent, when I think about these things, you have to have that open line of communication with your kids. You have to be watching what they're doing. You have to stand over them and say, "Who are you talking to? What are you talking about? Let me see what you're doing." And they don't love that, but you have to do it, because you have to be able to protect your kids. You have to be able to be a step ahead of them, and knowing who are they talking to, what are they doing, how can you keep them safe. Children are young, they are vulnerable, they are believable, they, you know, they follow the wrong places sometimes because it sounds good. So we have to be vigilant as parents.
And there's parental monitoring software that you can put on all their devices. Bark, for example, has a Samsung phone, or a smartphone, looks like every other smartphone. But it monitors their conversation, it doesn't spy on them. It monitors it for keywords, suicidal ideation, threats to kill themselves, bullying, things like that. And not only does it flag the parents, this language has been in your child's feed, it tells you how to deal with it. I mean, it's phenomenal technology. And I recommend that every parent, I don't care whether their kid's been bullied or not, or whether they've been bullied or not, every parent should have parental monitoring software on their kids' devices. Biggest thing you can do to protect them, because your kid is sneaky. All kids are sneaky.
Oh, they're so good. And
They
I
are
love
so
them.
good.
And I love working with kids every day, and they are sneaky, let me tell you. So, a parent will say to me, "Oh, Dr. Farron, I never let them. We got rid of their Gmail account. We told them they cannot go on Google Meet anymore. This cannot be my kid on Google Meet." Da, 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 da. Those kids make new email accounts so fast, faster than we can even consider making one.
Mhm.
And they know how to get ahead to the next and to the next and to the next. And you know what? You take their phone away, they're still going to go to school, log in on their friend's phone and Snapchat, and they're still going to snap their friends on their friend's phone. I mean, there's lots of different ways that they're always thinking ahead of you, but it's okay. You've just got to keep working towards it to protect them. And I
Yes, but
think as long as you're making that claim, I'm here to protect you,
mhm.
and they understand that. And I think those,
Yes.
do you think, CJ, that the rich conversations that you have with your kids are really some of the best tools that you can have?
That is, when it's possible, the most important thing. I don't care how old your teenagers and how much they roll their eyes when you walk by. You need to be having a conversation with them. They need to know that you care, and you need to be asking these open-ended questions. In my course, my Hero Parenting 101 online course, I talk about how to do daily sharing and monthly family meetings to keep your kids engaged and to talk
Mm,
about safety topics. You do this once a month, and it's a great way from the time the kids are really, really little until they graduate from home, to keep them engaged in the conversation. When an example, when I talk to my sons about sex, my two sons at different ages, um, I let them put a pillow over their head because they were so embarrassed. They couldn't face me, but they asked a lot of questions. Or car rides. Car rides are fantastic
yes,
for having deep conversations with your kids. It's the
they're
best.
locked in. They can't
Locked
go
in and
anywhere.
can't
They're
move out of
locked
the
in.
car.
But I love that. And so I'm just going to go back to the cyberbullying for just a minute. You go into this and this handout. So if you click the handout and you get it, it talks about collecting, making sure your child is safe, talk with and listen to your child with lots more detail in it than this, collecting the evidence, working with the school, refrain from contacting the parents of the one doing the bullying. Why do you think that that's important, CJ?
Because you're not going to get the response you hope for. 99 times out of 100, the bully's parents, are, whether they know the child's a bully or not, are going to be very defensive about their child being accused of something. It's just going to make the situation worse.
Right, right. You may need to seek counseling for you and your child.
Yes.
And I said for you and your child, because this is
Mhm.
hard as a parent. This is your child your whole life, the one that you love. And, you may need some help and support and guidance along the way
Yes.
as
For how to
well.
guide your child. Yeah.
And then if the bullying is based on race, sex, or disability, you can contact the Office of Civil Rights, contact the police if needed with certain measures and threats, and try to implement those measures to prevent it from happening. Really a lot of supervision with gaming platforms and things like that.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, in addition to these handouts, I have a ton of resources on my website at thebadassgrandma.com. That's TheBadassGrandma.com, thebadassgrandma.com. And you'll find so much information. And you can always email me at cj@thebadassgrandma.com. And I am very responsive. I'm addicted to email. So I'll respond to you to get you these handouts. If you couldn't take the time to take a photo of the QR codes, I'll answer your questions. I'll guide you to resources. Whatever you need, I will help you.
I love that. So our time is already up almost. It's hard to
No, I can't
believe
believe
30
it.
minutes. I know, it goes by so fast. Don't worry, we've got CJ coming back in a few months. She'll be talking again in a few months about friendships, and which will be really important to have. But what's next for CJ Scarlett? You wanted to talk about your game and what you got coming next. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, we are in the process of building the beta version of our Heroic Kids game app that will be available for testing by middle schoolers and their parents in about the next 3 or 4 weeks. And so we're looking for parents and middle schoolers. There's a parent portal. It's really cool. It keeps you informed with resources and handouts and where your child is in the game. And the children they don't learn any scary terms. We don't use sexual abuse, sex trafficking, nothing. They learn life skills. They learn safety skills, how to trust their intuition, what intuition is, how to set and defend boundaries, how to talk to trusted adults when something doesn't feel good, how to go through these scenarios. We have game scenarios they go through, and they have to make choices about what they're going to do next. And they can try each choice on to see what happens when they make certain decisions. And it teaches them that they can choose safe choices for themselves when their parents aren't around to protect them. They have the power to do that.
Nice.
Yeah, it is
Nice.
nice. I'm so
I
excited.
love I love the fact that you're teaching them how to advocate and take care of themselves. And I think that is, so important to be able to do. I appreciate the work that you're doing. You guys reach out to CJ Scarlett at thebadassgrandma.com. Is that
CJ, yeah, CJ at thebadassgrandma.com.
CJ at thebadassgrandma.com, and make sure that you are asking her all of your questions that you have, and check out her game. If you wanted to be a participant of that, reach out to her for that as well. It was great to see you, CJ. Hang around for it.
Thank you
We'll,
so
we'll
much.
end this, and
And
I'll
thank you to
talk to
your
you.
viewers. Thank you for the comments and the sharing. I appreciate your willingness to be vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. We will be back next Monday, so check us out at 5 p.m. Central Time. Have a great week, everybody. Take care. Thanks for letting us be part of your parenting journey. Bye now.
Thank you.